What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Our Way Out. This is episode 5, and today I have with me Jeremy,
Welcome back. We're back, baby.
Tristan.
What's up?
In the back, we have Jimmy and Curly, the boys.
Everyone.
What's up? What's up?
Back with the boys.
And like we mentioned on our last episode, this episode we want to focus on the questions that have been asked to the group, and I believe one of the questions is regarding to strikes, like prison strikes, like when you get sentenced, you get a strike, 2 strikes, and 3 strikes, and
you're out.
That's it.
and it's
You're
like
out.
baseball. It's like baseball where, if you get 3 strikes, you're out of the game. Like completely, meaning like you get life in prison, or you get sentenced to life.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any strikes?
Yeah, I have 1 strike, an adult felony strike, which turns into, a felony. And I had like 2 juvenile strikes because there's a difference between juvenile strikes and adult strikes.
What's the difference?
As a juvenile, you could, I think, get up to like I believe it was like 5 before like you really got sentenced to like a longer term or even face like life in adult prison. But I believe that law changed. I don't know if it's the same. Tristan, would you happen to?
For me, I got charged in juvenile court. I don't know if it's because my charge was so high or whatever, or if it's because it's violent crime, but I got a strike, like a real strike.
Oh.
Like, even though it was juvenile, it counted towards, I got like an adult strike, which was kind of, I didn't know that until like after I got sentenced and I was talking to my attorney about everything,
So went on your record.
So, I got it removed now. It's not there anymore, but when I was sentenced and when I was going through all that, it was a strike.
How do you get it removed?
As a juvenile, it's a lot easier than as an adult. Just after getting off probation, so you go through your probation, and they have this thing. I forget what it's called, but after 18 months of being off probation and doing what you're supposed to do outside in the real world, then you could go back to court. And there's a name for what it's called. I forget exactly what it's called. Honorable discharge. So you can honorable discharge everything, and everything gets sealed, expunged. Nothing's on your record, like completely brand new start, and which is I think it's possible to do it as an adult too, but it's like so much harder, takes so much more time.
There is, and it's resentencing. So you have to reopen your case, and get a request for an expungement, and it is a little harder. You have to like be clean for over 3 to 5 years. But you are eligible to go back to court and like fight it and show that you have been a productive civilian and, been staying out the way. You change your ways. And then the court or the judge will decide if they could remove it from your record. And if they remove it, wow, it's great because, it won't show up. It won't limit you from like getting certain jobs.
So it's a judge that determines whether you're able to get.
How many strikes you got?
I got 2.
You got 2. Ooh.
And I'm interested because I want to get my record expunged. I know ARC does a lot of work with like helping with the process. And I just haven't had time to go
and do it.
I need to make time because it's super
2
important.
strikes. Anything can happen.
You get a DUI and they could strike you out, basically.
I have 2 strikes, and that's why. That's one of the main reasons why I don't like mess around anymore. I don't even, like if it came down to me fighting someone, I'm gonna walk away from the situation because if I do get in a fight and say I beat someone up, that's my 3rd strike.
They press charges. It's not good.
And just for me beating someone up, or maybe I get beat up, who knows?
Yeah.
But just for me being in a fight and say I beat the guy up, the guy will go home like nothing, and then I'll go to prison for life for a dumb mistake.
And now you're there for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
I would definitely look into that because you've been out for a while now. Like you gotta be.
Like what, 7 years?
Going on 7 years.
Oh, yeah. But you have action. A matter of fact, there is a lot of, like ARC is one of them, but there are other organizations that have expungement clinics. And their whole purpose, the way it works is that they'll help you with all that process. They'll start up the paperwork for you. So if you have any certificates, if you've done any achievements, any recognitions, any graduating programs or the work that you do now,
all the positive,
all the positive, you get letters of recommendations. All that could help you, basically start your case to present it and be like, okay, I've rehabilitated, I've done this, and that. And so there's a lot of that. Yeah.
So you actually get a court date for all this, and then
Mm-hmm. You go back to court, pretty much. Oh, wow. Yeah. But except it's not like you committed a crime. It's not as bad, It's more like a civil case. Kind of
you're not being convicted for anything.
Yeah,
this is just to expunge your record and get the strikes off, and it's super important because. Yeah, I walk around eggshells all the time because of that.
You have to, man.
And it was like that for me while I was incarcerated too. Like I couldn't go out there and run a food, and just like.
Cause you could pick up the third one in there.
You could pick up the third one and never come home.
That's I've met people in there that got 2 and 3 in there, and are spending the rest of their lives in there because of those strikes, or they got them when they were out here. And they went to a store and robbed somebody, or they stole something. And since they already had 2, struck them out. And they were in there for another 20, 25 years to life. And basically having to go to board as well. When you get a third strike, you got to go in front of a board. And they constantly evaluate you and check like, oh, is this guy ready to go back to the streets? They either have the power to deny you or let you free.
They don't make it easy.
They don't make it easy.
More often than not, your first board, you're not going home. They'll tell you come back 3 to 5. 3 to 5 years, come back. And
some of the times the board will test you. Like they'll tell you, okay, you can come back in 3 years, just to get that reaction from the individual.
See what you'll do.
Some individuals just be like, man, all right, fuck it. Like they lose hope and they're like, they'll go back and.
Right back
get
to
caught,
running amok.
Get write-ups and
doing drugs.
Then go back in 3 years and we're like, well, you left here and went to go do. So you don't deserve to go back.
If you get told no out on the streets and you act like this in here, I can only imagine what you're gonna do out there.
And that's how the board. That's how they see it.
Yeah. And it's stressful. It's a psychological mind game because 3 years is a long time.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they tell you come back in 6.
Yeah. They can tell you as long as they want.
Like it's out of your control, and it could be very discouraging to hear like, man, when you go in there and you're thinking you've been doing everything that you're supposed to, and then
You've been good like 7 years or 5 years.
And then tell you come back in 3, you're like, man, that's discouraging. Like 3 years is so much happens in 3 years. I'd be stressed out.
And during that time, you were doing good. You are constantly being tested. You literally gotta like walk in eggshells as well in there, trying to stay away from the negativity in there. It's like, and it's hard being stuck in that lifestyle in prison where everything that's around you see and just chaotic. You could easily fall into bad stuff. And to be able to go through all that and then to tell you, no, come back in 3-5 years is like,
because there's things that happen in there that are completely out of your control.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to do the right thing and, and you're in that environment, it becomes stressful because you're thinking about your date, but then you have to deal with your situation.
Nobody else cares. Nobody else cares what you got going on.
That's true.
A lot of people don't want to see you go home. It's like,
they're hating. They'll be hating on you. They'll try to set you up.
And if you got to hop,
it happens.
You got to hop. You know what I mean? Now there's consequences to that.
Yeah.
So it's like, man,
which ones you want to take?
So it's important your decisions that you make, and also the strikes, how much it affects the way you do time. The way you think about, things differently.
And even say you have one strike and you pick up another charge or something, when you get out, pick up another charge. Because you have a strike, it's going to add more onto your sentence for your new charge.
It does, right? Yeah. Adds to it.
Yeah.
Well, is it double or is
I'm not even sure, but I know it adds years.
Like
it's not like it adds like a little bit. It adds like some crazy
So
amount.
if you got 3 and then now they're adding a strike, does that make it like 6 around there, something like that?
If you have 3 Like 3,
If they
3
give
years,
you 3 years,
and you have a strike, just because you have a strike, and you probably end up,
automatically.
Yeah, and they calculate you from that as well. They deem like how your risk level is as well, like
The point system.
Yeah, the point system. So if you have a strike, automatically you're already bumped up to like 40 points because of, those, and that determines your placement in either maximum security prison or a lower,
level 1 yard,
level 1, level 2.
Camp.
Yeah.
So it's tricky. It's really tricky.
Like, they're dangerous. They're dangerous to have, and something you definitely want to avoid.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I gotta look into that. I gotta go and expunge all my record,
bro.
Because I've been clean. I've been doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. I just gotta make the time to.
That's definitely
that's the
goal.
hard part.
It's a goal.
You gotta do it during Price. When Price is Right is going, we'll have a little more days off, like during the week. Right now, you ain't gonna find no time.
Do they do it on the weekends too?
I'm sure they do. Like
I don't know though.
They have outreach. Sometimes when they do outreaches, it's like on the weekends where they set up pop-ups and all these organizations. No, like, so if you wanted to get the process going, like with a expungement clinic, they'll have like pop-ups that you could go to on the weekends, and literally you just go there. You come with your ID, with your home proof of address, and you bring your rap sheet too.
What's your rap sheet?
Your rap sheet will basically be like what you were committed for, like when you got out,
all your papers,
everything, basically,
like your record,
your record, how many strikes you have, what were you convicted of, how long you've been out. It's basically proof for them to get that booking number as well and be able to file to the courts and start that process going. So once they start that process going, and you get you got to do a live scan as well, because they want to see that you haven't been in the record, you haven't got a new charge, so you'll get a live scan. Once they get that live scan will say, okay, his record has been clean X amount of time. And that right there helps your case. So they start gathering information that they need to be able to submit that appeal and to commence your expungement.
And then in the life scan, they see everything.
If
you've been pulled over,
background check.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Like if you've gotten tickets. Things like that.
I don't know.
No,
if those
it's more like crime,
serious,
like
criminal behavior.
If you've been
criminal activity.
Yeah, if you've been violated or you got booked again, like you did a couple weeks or months, all that, you can't have nothing like that.
Probably just misdemeanors and felonies. Like those are only things that are like charges, criminal charges. Like I don't think traffic tickets.
And I think nowadays it's after 3 years. So or after 2 years, I'm confident after the third year you could start filing for it. So, but if you have more time, like you already been out 5-7 years, even better, because you've been out here, you've been a productive member of society. You're doing well for yourself, and all that right there is good. Like I was mentioning, anything will help when it comes to letters of recommendation. So like mentors, your boss, friends, us,
Gotcha.
all that helps.
How long does that process take?
It could take a year, a couple years.
Oh,
it depends.
It's not fast.
It's not fast, but I mean, compared to the time we've lost, you could put in that time, and and it's something to look forward to, and just imagine, bro, the weight that will take off your shoulder.
Seriously,
there's certain countries that won't allow us to go, and because of having that family record or those strikes. We had, like you went through it, right? You had to ask for permission to go to Australia? Yeah. So,
it was a big thing. That's honestly, my record is what kept me going from day one. It took like a month before I got approved before Australia let me into the country.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
and it was beautiful, I bet, when you went.
Yeah.
And if you have a record, you can't really experience that.
Had they refused my entrance, it would have took my opportunity away, but thankfully
in your career in the industry, right? Like
I would have probably had a whole different.
Who knows? Yeah,
who knows where I would have been at? But thankfully for me, it worked out in my favor, and I was able to get in, and I experienced this beautiful, time there, working and. But yeah, it's a big.
It's a blessing. It's a real blessing that there is organizations and communities that believe in, getting expungement and stuff like that. For those reasons, especially if you're proving yourself and you're rehabilitated and you're like constantly working on yourself, like why shouldn't you be able to go up in front of a judge and be like, look, I made a mistake when I was a kid, 15, 16 years old. I'm an adult. These are the things I've done now. Let me fight for my freedom. And, don't have to think about getting rejected for a job because of my background.
Off the top of your head, do you know any organizations that help with that?
ARC is one.
I know, yeah.
California Justice Leader is another one as well, and they do it. But there's like you could literally go online. We could look it up, and they'll tell you where there's events where they're doing expungement. Jake Cott is another one too.
What about Homeboy Industries?
I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into them.
But I wouldn't be surprised.
There is, I wouldn't be surprised.
They worked on it. Yeah.
Because it's
they're big.
They're big. It's out there. So
yeah. So if you're come across this podcast and you need help with that, look it up online. ARC.
Yep.
What was the other one you mentioned?
California Justice Leader, Jake Cott, and Homeboy's Industry, right?
I mean, I would think they do. I mean, I don't know for sure, but
but if you guys are seeing this and you need some guidance that way, we definitely could give you that guidance.
Just make sure you're staying out of trouble and doing everything that is gonna help your case.
Make sure you deserve it. You deserve it before
earn it.
Make sure that you're gonna be honest because you will be put on that stand. You don't have to get that oath. So just be honest with yourself, and if you're prepared and ready, the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
So strikes. You do not want strikes.
Three and you're out. Literally.
Out the game.
No, 3 and you're locked in.
Yeah, you're locked in. You're not out. You're in. For a bit.
So another question that was asked was, how has incarceration influenced your relationships and friendships in there and once you've come home?
Oh.
That's a big one.
That's a loaded question for sure.
That is deep.
I mean, for me in there, it just really brought me closer to like my family. I got a lot of siblings. My mom, my dad. Like I talk to them. I would call somebody every day. When you're out, you kind of going about your life. I was in high school. I would talk to them here and there. But when I went to jail, I talked to them every day, grew very close to them, and the crazy part is my friends that I was best friends with were my boys. They was nowhere to be found. Man, I don't talk to them now. I don't talk to them at all. So those friendships broke away. Like in high school, you think like, oh, these are my boys. Like, oh, we gonna be friends forever. Like we boys, like
yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, in the moment it changes. That shit changes, bro, and that shit like. It just brought me real close to my family, and it just made me appreciate relationships and friendships that are real, that you can actually tell are genuine, and like people care about you, instead of people that are there just to be with you just because you're doing what's cool at the time or whatever, like especially in high school. So that was cool to learn about myself, and then now. Being out, like just being in a relationship with my girl, like taught me a lot just of how to be together, and be a family. I had a child, I have a stepson, and it's just
you value it more, huh?
I value that a lot more now, like in our relationship, our friendship. Like I value my time more, especially because of when I was in jail. So I don't want to waste it with people that I don't care about or that are just there temporarily, like. Yeah, so it just taught me a lot about myself.
When you said you used to call your family, your loved ones from, prison or where you were at, how long were your phone calls?
Man, they were 15 minutes each. All recorded.
And they were lying.
You had to pay.
Recorded meaning someone was listening.
Someone is listening to your phone. The first thing it says when you dial a number is, "Thank you for using Global Telling. Your call will be monitored and recorded."
Yeah.
And then you have to say your name, and your family hears the same recording when they answer. So you get your little 15 minutes, and sometimes it's a little longer if you could stay on the phone longer. But I mean,
There's always a line.
But after those 15 minutes are up, you have to hang up, call back, get recharged because it wasn't free at the time.
Yeah, it wasn't. No, it ended up being free after a while, but it was like, dude, it's like $5 a phone call, and it doesn't sound like a lot. You're like, oh, $5, but every day $5 a phone call.
$5 for 15 minutes.
It's like, dude, and that shit goes fast. So if you call again, that's $10 that day. Next thing you know, you talk for an hour, you just wasted $20, and you're gonna call again tomorrow.
Especially if you're in there and you're all lovey-dovey.
Yeah, that too. Luckily, I didn't have too much of that, you know. But just talking, and then like when you're off, when you get off the phone, you're like, dang man, like you just miss it out there. You miss your family. You're like, dude,
that was the hard part when you like get on the phone. And you talk to your family, your loved ones, and they're like, yeah, we're about to have a family gathering, and so-and-so is going to be there. We're going to make this food. And you're like, man, you could visualize everything. Yeah. You could picture everything because you've been there before, you know.
It's your escape.
You hang up, you go back to your cell, and you're just like, damn, man, this is my reality.
Especially during the holidays, bro. Christmas and Thanksgiving, it's like, oh man, they out there opening presents and shit. Yeah.
It hits, and then you get the
holidays always hit.
You're grateful for the call because you get to like say Merry Christmas and all that. But then reality hits. We're like, man, I wish I was there. They're about to cook it up, you know, they're about to open presents. Yeah. It's all happy vibes.
The Christmas spirit, you know?
Exactly. The Christmas spirit.
Man.
Then you get major FOMO, you know, fear of missing out. Yeah, exactly.
And then not only that, but that's like the only time, like if you have loved ones and you have like authentic like friends and stuff like that, that's like the only time you ever get to like actually conversate and talk to people and open up, right? Because that's something you don't really do in there, you know. So that's like another thing when I used to look forward to like getting on the phone was like just to escape for a little bit. Yeah, you know, I would talk to my cousin. I would talk to. I didn't really date anyone, but I did have friends. And reason being, my like influence in being in prison when it came to relationships, I would hear just like infidelity and stuff like that. And to me, I didn't want to put myself in a position where I had to like stress about those things.
Though I see so many people arguing and stressing with their girl over the
fighting
phone,
with the girl.
Bro,
like,
you're
I try to avoid that as best as I could, but I also saw it as a like kind of like a mechanism, like a kind of like a blocker for me not to like show those feelings, because I didn't want to like fall in love with someone and I was behind the walls, you know, and I didn't want to have to like worry and stuff like that. And for me, prison really guarded me, but at the same time it kind of messed me up because it kind of affected me in a way now coming home and trying to like work out a relationship with someone, because one part of me has like expectations that I feel like need to be met, but I know those expectations are not right. They're just a lot of blockers that I put in front of me, so I don't really have to believe in a relationship, right? So I've struggled in many ways where I don't allow myself to like really open up, and it takes me a while for me to like feel comfortable to open up. And I've noticed that in some of my relationships, that has like stopped, has deterred like some of my relationships, because I'm not that open, you know. I like to like keep to myself because I feel like once I start opening up and something happens, I might get hurt, whatnot. Yeah. And that all traces back to me being in prison and not wanting to like experience those feelings. But I tell you what though, like what I do value is like true friendships, people that are authentic, people that don't bring me bad energy, that I could just be comfortable with. Those are the type of relationships that I have in my life now. But like personally, like what I want in a relationship is just to feel comfortable, you know. And nowadays it's hard, but it's out there, but it consumes a lot of energy. And you know, I recognize that sometimes I don't put all that energy in, but I just take it a day at a time, and I try not to think too much about it. And then if something happens and, I found a person that I really, want to spend a future with, it's going to happen, right? If God willing or whatever it is. But yeah, what about yourself?
Oh, man. Being in there really showed me like who was for me, like who really like cared about me. And for the most part, it was my family. Like coming into my incarceration, I had a girlfriend. But once I got sentenced, like I knew, like, man, I need to focus on my time. I don't got time for that that lovey dovey and soft and being I have to deal with my situation. So it's like at the time when I got my sentence, I told my girlfriend at the time, like, look, just do you. I got to deal with this, and my head's here in this world. And then going forward, it was just my family that was there for me. The ones that were really hurting for me. My mom, my sisters, my pops, and other relatives. They're the only ones that will really check on me. Yeah, I had like a few, like not even a few, like a couple homies, right? That were, man, they're solid homies that will be like, hey, what do you need?
Yeah.
What can I help with? And for those, I'm really grateful. And I'm very grateful for my family. But in there, I had peace when I didn't have, when I didn't think about, oh, my girlfriend's out there doing this, or she probably at this party, so throughout most of my time, I didn't have and I was at peace. And towards the end, I did have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And man, I don't know. Here comes the thoughts, like, man, is she out there doing this? Is she out there doing that? You calling, like, what's up? Who you with? And like all those stuff. You ain't got nothing but time, and all you do is think. So that's when like I wouldn't say stress, but I would think about it more. Like I wasn't at peace.
I feel like it almost sets you up for failure if you have a girl like when you're doing a significant amount of time, because first you have all those thoughts you're talking about, but then when those thoughts that you're thinking and talking about come to reality, and she is really out there cheating on you and stuff, you're like,
you find out,
damn, and maybe she's not, maybe she's not. There's also like, it's also dope when you get pulled out to visit. And you have your little shorty, like it feels good, because you're around a bunch of men all the time. Yeah. So when you do come out, you have like someone, a girl, and she's feminine and she's soft with you and tender. That like it feels good, but it doesn't take from thinking those negative thoughts. And again, that's you. That's no, that's just you because you got time.
Yeah.
And it's all the shit that we see as well, like people on the phone arguing with their girls and yelling and fighting, fighting with themselves. And Juan, were you trying to say something?
No. I was just saying that. I forget what I was saying.
No, you're just saying that you can finally get to kiss her.
Oh yeah.
So
you go to the visitor and you can kiss your girl, so you get that contact.
Oh yeah,
that was the best. So now like my relationships and friendships, I see them differently. Like I just don't let anyone into my space. I'm really particular of who gets my time, my energy. And if you do, you mean a lot to me. Like if I spend time with you and then you matter to me and I value my relationships now. It makes my I feel like it made made me just realize and care about the people that care for me more. And I know I'm not perfect, but I'm just trying to be better and be there for them as much as they were there for me. So I'm grateful for everyone that was there for me, that's still there for me, and everyone that I come across, and even if you weren't there for me, it's still love, because at the end of the day, I put myself in that situation. Yeah. It's nobody else's fault but mine. Yeah. So I don't hold that against anyone, but now I know, I know who's for me and who's not, And now I'm in control of who I let in my life. And if you're on some positive and trying to come up type of energy, then hey, let's do it.
Yeah.
But if you're on some BS, I ain't got no time for that.
Yeah.
You know?
And another note, like, you know, with relationships or even family relationships, right? Like, there's some family members that, you know, are just negative, and sometimes you also gotta like detach yourself from them, you know, even if they are family. Like, I had to do that, you know. People are still stuck in, you know, people that I cared about, that I grew up with, and are still stuck in the same ways. And I was like, I just, you know, some people can't be helped. They don't want to be helped. And you know, if you let them be around you, like that bad energy, just like, you know, it could get the best out of you.
It's
Like,
contagious.
Like,
it's contagious.
Yeah, it's contagious, and you
Yeah,
literally gotta
how
like
hard
remove
was that?
yourself from that. You know?
Yeah, how hard was that for you guys to just come back from everything and just jump into the world and try to just be a part of it? Does it feel like you guys were like in a different world?
Obstacles. That's one word that comes to mind, is like just, you know, you're experiencing new things. You're seeing how people are, and you just gotta like just try to navigate it as best as you can. Be mindful, and you know, because sometimes you just can't tell people like, look, you're still this way, I don't want to be around you, and this. Sometimes you have to do it, but it depends, you know, because that person could not take it the right way, and then all of a sudden you're
one thing I've learned is that you can only control the things that are in your control, you know, and your power. Like, you can't change someone, you can't you know, like, expect that from them, but you do have the decision whether to mess with that, you know, that energy or not. That's up to you. That's what you do have power over, you know, whether you mess with a person or not. But one thing I will say in there, that I got my relationship with God got stronger. You know, like, I found the light in a dark place. And that's something I'm very proud of, and you know, I'm still growing. But I found the light in a dark place, and you know, for me that means everything.
yeah.
Because to me, God is very important. So, and going forward, you know, I put Him first in everything. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
You know, that I found the light in a dark place.
I mean, it's similar too, because I also got real close to God in there. And
how did you find God in there, guys? Is it different?
I mean, like, for me growing up, my family, they're not super religious, but like, my mom's Catholic, like, used to go to church and stuff, so I always knew God. But you know, out here, there's too many temptations. You're young, the devil's out to get you, so you fall into all them temptations, and then when you get in there, it's like a wake up call. It's like you got smacked awake, and you're like, oh, like, you know, like, I gotta get closer to God. I gotta, like, for me, I started reading the Bible, and like, I feel like a lot of people do it once they get in there. But the hard part is just sticking to it and being consistent with it. And then when you're out, don't change nothing. You know, if you feel like, one thing I learned in there is I learned a lot about myself as well. So if I'm out here and something's not going my way, or I feel something is wrong, I take a look at myself, because in there it's the same thing except you're alone. So I learned to work with myself and go back to the things that are working for me. If something's not working, look at what you're doing different, if you're doing anything different, and fix that. Like, for me in there, I was very, like, everything's very routine, you know, like, program, wake up, workout, whatever. You set your own kind of little routine and program, and sticking to it kind of keeps your day flowing and keeps your day going along, so you don't almost like go insane from just like boredom or sitting around and thinking too much. So out here, it's like, I'm kind of similar. I like a routine, like to get up early in the mornings, whatever, before work, chill, drink coffee, work out. I have my daily routine. So, as I start to veer off from that, I'll notice stuff's going wrong, and I'll be like, hold on, let me sit back. Let me go back to what I know works. Let me go back to doing what I know I need to do, putting God first, and just look at yourself. Sometimes you got to reflect on yourself and see what you could do to change things, you know?
Yeah, because when you were by yourself, like when I was by myself, the time I took to reflect on everything and work on what wasn't going right. I grew up in a Christianity home, right? But my relationship with God at the time was like it wasn't like a full commitment because just everything that I was going through, and I blame God for a lot of my downfalls, right? And when I went into prison and jail, I remember just not wanting to do anything with God because I blamed him for a lot of things. And it took me a while for me to finally go back to church. And when I did go back to church, it was a Catholic church. And I remember going into these Catholic churches, and the reason I started going because I was just surrounded by madness, chaos. And the only place that I found peace was in that church. And going to church on like Sundays, because they'll have services on Sundays, that was my escape time. That was the only time where I could just relax and not feel like I gotta watch over my shoulders. I could just focus on the message. And more than often, that message always was about the issues that I was going through, the things that I was going through in my head. And I always took that moment to just, work on myself and build my relationship with our higher power, right? With our creator. And just constantly like pursuing and reading the Bible and taking in all these stories. And, if you ever read the story about Jesus, it's like wow, like he was so brave. He just put everyone else, and I'm still not like committed to like a precise like religion. What do you call it? Like a
religion?
Yeah,
like
religion.
like either Christianity or Catholic.
Yeah.
I just made it more personal towards me and him. And I, every time I'm going through something, I always pray to him, and I ask for wisdom. And it's basically what I did when I was in there as well, because like I said, it was my only place to escape. So nowadays I've noticed catching myself doing it more, where I'm feeling lost, and I don't feel like I could go to someone. I will sit there and I was just like, look at the sky and just like pray, say a prayer, and be like, give me a sign, give me wisdom, like what do I need to do? Just talk to me. And little by little, as I sit there and I'm contemplating all these thoughts, I start seeing signs and I start, like getting answers. And it's what gave me hope. Those Sunday services, whether it was Catholic or Christianity, like I loved it because that was the only space where I ever got peace.
Yeah, man. For me, I grew up in a Catholic household, and I did my communion, confirmation growing up. So I always believed. But once I got incarcerated, I didn't, like, I wouldn't pray. I was just so caught up in this world that I was a different person. But one day, fast forward, I was in prison, and it was towards the end, of my sentence. My neighbor is a black dude. He was, man, thank God for him, because every morning he would he was Christian, and he would talk to me about God, and it came to the point where I used to avoid him. Like, oh man, here comes this guy.
You're gonna start talking about that again, man.
Dude, I'm gonna go this way.
He's gonna scare me again.
And then one day it just dawned on me, like, dude, I'm not running away from him. I'm running away from God. What am I doing? I'm. So the next morning, I went up to him and I'm like, hey man, I just want to confess something to you. I've been dodging you for these last couple of days because, I didn't really want to hear it, but that's just the enemy working in me. And, I just realized something. I'm not running from you. I'm running from God, So I just want to confess that to you because it just dawned on me, and from that moment forward, I started focusing on my relationship with God. I started doing my own reading, my own, understanding. And my heart just felt right with my relationship with God. Wow. And it was like, if you had a pick, it would be Christianity.
Yeah.
But, I just started focusing on my relationship. and things just started, you know, like changing for me. Like I started seeing, like it's almost like God took the blindfold off of my eyes, and I could see for clearly, exactly, like truly, I could see things for what they were.
Wow.
And man, it's changed my life completely.
Transformation.
I've grown so much since then. You know, I go to a good church, and I'm you know, on Tuesdays, I get together with my brothers from church, and we have life group, and it helps me out so much.
Wow.
Like, because you talk about conversations like we talk about that we don't talk to no one else, you know, and you relate, and you relate with the message.
Yeah.
You know, because we all go through it. No one's perfect. You know, we all have problems, and we're going to continue to have problems. And, you know, every time I seek guidance, I go to God, and that has made all the difference in my life. And it's changed the way I walk. It's changed the way I talk. You know, like I was a completely different person before. The way, you know, I used to say essay after every 2 words, like, you know, what's up, essay? And that was my vocab. But now it's changed. You know, it's changed me. And that's a beautiful thing, man. And that has become a testimony for all of us. You know, we can all share that with others in hopes that, you know, it changed their lives. So thank God for that. I'm actually grateful that we just kind of stumbled on that conversation.
Yeah. And it's good because spiritual, like in places like that was nothing. The only thing you got is that your spiritual, you know, relationship, and just that could keep you going.
Keep you sane.
And the truth is, I used to always pray, like, please, God,
get me out of here.
Let me go home. I promise this, and that, you know.
Yeah, same thing, bro.
Only He knows. He knew, you know, where your heart is.
He had a plan, bro. He knew.
And
exactly.
He had a plan. And at the time, you don't see it. You know, you don't see it. You just want your selfish reasons. Yeah. Because I knew as soon if I get released right now, I'm going back to the hood. I'm gonna go chill.
You gotta continue that. You gotta keep, but you know, no matter what.
He knew my heart. Yeah. So he's like, nah, you're not ready. You're gonna go through. Trust me, by the end of it, you're gonna be ready. And now I see. Yeah. Now I see, man.
That's dope.
It's crazy, man.
This was a really great conversation. We hope that we was able to answer a lot of the questions.
Keep asking questions.
Keep asking. Yes.
Give us feedback.
There's so much that we still have to answer, but we're here, and we're willing to keep opening up and talking about these problems that you gotta come through to transform and stuff like that. You know.
And keep liking, keep subscribing, and
keep sharing.
Thank you for listening, man.
To my friends that get together on their cars and have dessert and watch our show. You know who you are. Shout out to you. The ones that all the supporters, you know, big shout out to all you guys.
Everyone, bro.
Thank you, and that's our way out.
Our way out, baby. See you on the next one.
Hey.